I wonder how it feels to work at NASA and see something that you've been following for 20 years orbit a planet and then smash into it on purpose. Hey guys, I'm Vee Laabs. This is a Technophiles Newscast. NASA's spacecraft Cassini has just started the final phase of its 20-year Saturn mission. NASA launched the spacecraft in 1997 after going past Venus, picking up speed up to 4 miles per second. It went past Earth, it went through the asteroid belt, and hung out with Galileo at Jupiter, helping take measurements of that planet's atmosphere. After passing Jupiter, it ended up in Saturn's system in 2004, so it's orbiting Saturn for about 12 years now. So while it's been orbiting Saturn, it's been examining the surface of the planet and also one of its moons, Titan. Actually, the spacecraft had launched a probe onto Titan, which is the furthest man-made spacecraft that's landed on a surface to date. The probe that landed on Titan, Huygen, is actually the furthest we've ever launched a man-made spacecraft to land on a surface. Fun fact. Save that for trivia night. It's also been examining Saturn's surface. Saturn is actually a very active planet. There is a phenomenon that happens called the 30-year storm. It's a massive storm on the surface that dredges up 100 miles of ice and water. It's 30 years our time, but actually 1 year Saturn time. Actually, shout out to local UW-Madison scientist Kevin Barnes for writing a paper on that subject in 2011. Cassini actually took some really interesting photos of the north and south poles of Saturn. Each pole of the planet actually has a vortex on it, and an interesting thing that happens is that the top pole, the North Pole, has a hexagonal shape to it. It's perfectly equilateral, and it's said that the vortex on the North Pole is influenced by a storm that's happening possibly like somewhere around the equator or just off of the north point of it that's pulling the edges in an equal manner. It's not quite figured out yet, but that's one of the theories of what might be causing it. But it's a pretty cool image. You should definitely check it out. It looks like a cool spirograph. And we wouldn't even have that image if it wasn't for Cassini. During its orbit, it found 2 new moons and also orbited Titan and took some temperatures, examined the roughness of the surface, and also found that there are lakes there and that the moon could actually probably support life. Most of what we know about Titan actually comes from Cassini. It's pretty neat. Thanks, Cassini. Appreciate it, thanks. Cassini also took the closest photos of Saturn's rings we have to date, and actually, it's going to get a lot closer in this next phase. On November 30th, it began the first of 22 final orbits of Saturn, and it's actually going to be grazing one of the outermost visible rings of Saturn, the F ring. The F ring is actually the thinnest, but yet the brightest of the rings. It's about 500 miles long, but it experiences some weird, glowing, reflecting phenomena that causes it to be so bright. NASA actually describes the F ring as having bright streamers, wispy filaments, and dark channels. So they got some poets over there at NASA. Other than the F ring, it's also going to be examining the small moons and moonlets. It sounds so cute! Moonlets sound so cute! Like you'd find them in your cereal or something, like they come with your Lucky Charms. And moonlets that orbit the planet inside the ring zone. It'll also be examining some of the propeller structures in the A-ring. They're weird structures that look like plane propellers. They've actually named a few of them after famous aviators like Amelia Earhart. Once the rings are backlit by the sun, Cassini will actually be able to see the areas of the rings where it's been punctured through by meteorites that are passing by. Cassini will be passing by the F-ring about once a week for the next 22 weeks. And after that, it will be orbiting closer and closer and closer in a controlled crash into Saturn's surface. It's fired its engine its 183rd and final time, and hoping nothing goes wrong, it should be smashing into the planet as intended. This controlled crash is actually going to be taking a while. It'll be smashing into the planet in September. And they actually do this because while they still have enough fuel to kind of control its fall, they want it to smash into something that will absolutely obliterate it, like the storms on Saturn, rather than smashing into Titan and contaminating a possibly livable moon with the small microbes that are still on the spacecraft from Earth. So during these final few months, we're going to learn more about Saturn's rings than we ever have before, getting a closer look than we've ever had before. You can find out more about Cassini's 20-year mission at saturn.jpl.nasa.gov and see some of the gorgeous photos that have been taken of the planet itself, its weird hexagonal northern vortex, and the rings of it and all the structures that occur within. I personally cannot wait to see what kind of weird structures are lurking in Saturn's rings, just making it the weird way it is. If you want to keep the conversation going, you can do that in the comments below, or you can tweet at us at TechnophilesPod. You can also tweet at me at bear_Annika if you want to discuss Cassini's adventures and how sad it's going to be when it crashes into the planet. You can also find us on Facebook by searching Technophiles Podcast, or go to our website at technophilespodcast.com. See you guys later. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw, you can check out our subscribe button, or you can support us on Patreon. If you want to see more like this, Chris deleted a story about floors that generate electricity by walking on them. That's actually a local project. And over here we have our podcast that we have every week.